All right, old Uncle Phil's at it again. Another fly by Phil Bair. This one is called the Mother Shucker. I had to say the S long like that because I know Spencer's going to try to edit it to make it sound like something else. But it's not. It's a Mother Shucker, Mother Shucker, Mother Shucker, Mother Shucker. And it's awesome.
That's a big brown.
Okay, the Mother Shucker. Hardy har har. Yeah, we get a good chuckle every time we say Mother Shucker in the shop. Another genius pattern by Mr. Phil Bair. Anyway, this is maybe one of the most effective midges on the Provo, along with the No Seum. This one should be in your box. Anyway, what's this hook that I have here? It is an XC120BL by Umpqua. It's their X series. It's a wide gap dry fly hook. All right, I'm just going to pick out some 70-ish denier in gray. I think this is uni, but you can really use whatever you want. I'm going to unwind the thread a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to kind of go back to the eye and then come all the way back down so my hook is fully dressed. Now I'm going to take a piece of this razor foam. Now inside the razor foam package, there are 2 pieces of 0.5 millimeter and 2 pieces of 1 millimeter. Take the 1 millimeter and cut it so that it's a little more narrow than the hook gap on this one. And we're going to tie that in right at the back, just like that. And actually, I'm going to do that again because now I know where I'm going to tie it in. I like to taper the butt on these a little bit more than just that little bit. So you saw what's the standard. This is kind of how I like doing it. All right, so we're tied in here. Should go about that far behind the hook. I'm just going to advance my thread forward to about that spot. This fly's kind of tied in thirds a little bit, but we're going to tie it down again right here. Then if I pull this tight, stick my scissors in and trim, it kind of eliminates a big bulky tie down spot here. So this is how we're looking so far. Now this is where the rubber meets the road. We're going to do a hackle stacker here. A lot of people use monofilament or thread, and I prefer to use this Life Flex stuff from Hairline. It's a rubber band material. I'm using the small size, and I'm just going to make a loop like this. So I'm going to make a loop, and I'm going to tie that in right here. So that's what I'm going to tie my hackle onto. Come up here, pull these up and stretch them a little bit, trim, and now we're ready to wrap. A lot of hackle stackers will have a dubbed thorax, but this one calls for just thread. So we'll leave it as the recipe says. And this on this one, it's a size 18, and I am going to use size 18 hackle on this one, unlike the No Seum where I'm using quite a bit bigger hackle. And also, you can tie this one with dun hackle. I'm going to use grizzly. I really like grizzly for midges. So I'm going to just tie that in right at the same spot where I tied in the Life Flex, and then I'll trim the stem off. And then it's really important that I take my thread back to the very back of that head where I've tied everything in. Now we're ready to wrap this hackle. So I'm going to stick my finger in like this. So my finger is going to pull that upward. Okay, so my finger is creating the parachute post. And I'm going to use my thumb and my middle finger to help me wrap this hackle. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this hackle and wrap it up the span flex to about the distance where it will cover up the thorax. Maybe 1 or 2 more turns. And now I'm just going to wrap back down through itself. And this way you get a lot more hackle on it. And we're back down to the bottom. Now this is a part where you kind of have to be all fingers because I'm going to want to grab all the hackle that I wrapped and pull it back out of the way. And the hackle that's left, I just want to tie that off right where my thread is. so it should look kind of like that. All right, we'll trim that bad boy off. And now I'm going to take my thread and wrap it forward to the eye. And to lay this down and get it perfectly in place, all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this over. And I'm going to tie 3 really loose wraps of thread. And then I'm going to grab my loop and just pull that down into place. So now I've got my hackle where I want it. It's kind of facing too far forward over the fly, so I can preen that back. Let's see. And I'm going to tie that down a little bit more. Then I'm just going to fold everything back and put some really tight thread wraps right under that span flex that I just tied off. Okay? This fly is never going to have the cleanest of heads, but I'm just going to whip finish right there. Trim that off, and now if I take this span flex, pull it tight and trim it, it just kind of disappears. All right, now I can take this hackle and I can kind of preen it. Sometimes it gets trapped down, and you can even take like a brush to this and pick out all those fibers, make sure that they're sitting right where you want them to. But anyway, one way to make them a little bit more durable now is to take some super glue and just kind of coat the whole bottom of the fly. Little tiny bit will do. You don't want it to seep into your dry fly hackle. But anyway, that is the Mother Shucker.